Hey Internet, Kris Krug checking in here from Banff nextMEDIA conference. I'm here with Parmesh Shahani. Say hello.
Hi.
And Parmesh is over here from India. He's speaking at the conference. He's the author of a book that's really doing well all over the world called Gay Bombay, Globalization, Love, and Belonging in Contemporary India. Wow, sounds like a pretty interesting book. Tell me more about it, man.
Well, it's about the intersection of technology, globalization, and sexuality in the India of today. It's an ethnography. It looks at the changes that have taken place through various lenses, one of which is history, one of which is interviews with people both online and offline, one of which is media representation, and the fourth is personal memoirs. So it's these different voices kind of juxtaposed against each other, and the book is a result of that.
Is there a sexual revolution taking place in India right now?
No, I wouldn't call it a revolution, but I certainly think that there are changes that are taking place, at least in urban India, and this book looks at some of these changes, but set against the backdrop of the other changes that are happening in terms of whether financial or whether with the internet or stuff like that.
Can you give those of us who are kind of like less familiar with Indian culture a little bit like a snapshot of what some of those changes are in terms of the sexuality and stuff? Like what's going on there?
Well, most of my research is in urban India, and at least in urban India, the introduction of technologies like the internet and the mobile phone especially have enabled communities of interest to form and have enabled a whole lot of people to negotiate their sexuality. But what I found interesting is they do it within the matrix of their Indianness, and that's what the book talks about. So it's changes that are taking place outside, but also changes that are taking place within people on a day-to-day basis, as they're constantly, using these tools to find out who they are. But in finding out who they are, they're keeping a large part of who they are, whether it's their traditions or whether it's their notions of family or community or whatever. But and incorporating the sexuality and in some sense kind of folding it within what they're already comfortable and familiar with. Maybe that's very different from the way things have developed in other parts of the world.
Okay. So you also work at a large company in India called Mahindra?
Yeah, I work at a company called Mahindra & Mahindra, which is a conglomerate. It's a $7 billion conglomerate all over the world, which makes everything from cars to tractors,
right, sure,
to software to.
And you're on the venture capital and investment side?
Yeah, I do a range of stuff. I work with a venture capital fund that looks at new ideas, but I also explore new media for the group. I work on different aspects of culture, as in what does it mean to be a global Indian multinational, whether it's in organizing film festivals in New York, or figuring out what innovation means in our context.
Right.
And I'm actually also affiliated with MIT's Convergence Culture Consortium out of Boston, for which I help occasionally catalog or analyze the Indian media scene. Awesome. So it's a nice blend of different things that keeps me busy.
And I'm going to go out on a limb here from the title of your book, but it appears that you like boys.
Yes.
Is that something that you can talk about openly and is pretty accepted in India, or is it something you still kind of keep to yourself, or?
Well, again, it depends on different people. At least for me, this is something that's always been a part of who I am, and it's something that I'm very comfortable with. Obviously, I have a book out there which talks about sexuality. But it's not the same for everyone. So, I would say largely, while there are lots of changes happening, but at least in terms of people coming out or people, being very vocal about it, maybe not so much. But there are so many other changes happening. For example, workplaces becoming friendlier or families becoming more accepting. So these are all social and cultural changes that are happening, at least in urban India again. It's different in other parts.
What's your talk here at nextMEDIA going to be about?
Well, it's on a panel. It's on a panel called Bollywood Rising. And I'm going to talk about a couple of trends that I'm seeing in India right now, which I think people in Canada should be aware about.
Can you give us a snapshot of what those trends are? For those of us who won't be able to make your panel?
Yeah, well, the first thing is that it's there's something to be said for local content. And in India, local means different things. There's so many states. So, for example, the Bengali population in Bengal could be like larger than so many other countries, right?
Right.
So so local content is really big, but one trend that's really emerging is the nature of local is now in question. For example, local used to be a common language or a common geography, but because of media and because of migration, because people even travel within the country, right? Someone from Calcutta might be working in Bombay, or someone from Bombay might have married and gone to Delhi. What becomes local is now a matter of confusion and certainly creative imagination. So this was manifested recently in something called the IPL, or the Indian Premier League. I don't know if y'all have been following cricket here, but at least for the last 2 months, it was this obsession that swept through the subcontinent and other parts of the world, where for the first time, there were teams like the Delhi Daredevils or the Bombay Indians, or which were city-based teams, but and the kind of passions that arose in that were interesting. What I found exciting was in the sense that how people had hierarchies of affiliation. So, for example, I was very passionate about Mumbai, but when the city lost, I quickly shifted it to the city which I kind of identified with next, right? So I'm, so this is just one of the things that I'm talking about, that, one can't really create content or can't create properties for a large amorphous thing called India. You have to create for niches. The niches, whether local or whether there are other kinds of niches, are big enough to sustain. But they're big enough to sustain, good content. I mean, there's enough people. So that's just one of the things. There'll be like a couple of more, but you'll have to come for that.
Sounds good. So I was cruising around your blog before the interview and checking things out, and I'm familiar with the G spot, but there seems to be something you keep talking about there called the P spot. What's the P spot, Parmesh?
Well, the P spot is the name of the blog. Have you found yours, incidentally? Because it's actually the P spot talks about. It's since I travel a lot and talk about and do all these different things and talk about all these different things, I just thought it was a cute name. P as in being Parmesh, me. It's like it's wherever I am in the world, I talk about different things from there. So,
awesome.
so that's what it is.
Well, Parmesh just off a plane from India, going to be here for the next few days. Come check out his panel. Take a look at his book, published worldwide by Sage. Sold out on Amazon, but they're making more. Come get yours. Thanks a lot for spending some time with me.
Good meeting
All right.
you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Over and out, Internet.